And there we have it. This is the Indie Show. I am Kenny, and you are not. And we've got our friend Michael Brandvold waiting in the wings. Not sure what's going on with Sean tonight. Hopefully, the time change didn't get to him, and we turned the clocks back. We are now back on Standard Time, Eastern Standard Time instead of Eastern Daylight Time. What's your preference? You can put that in the chat if you want tonight, and we can talk about that and how that affects people's moods and all kinds of other stuff. This is called New Revelations. So we're hoping to reveal some things tonight that maybe you haven't considered. Things that I know that our good guest Michael has considered probably many times during his career and even before. And Sean and I have been doing this series about what's luck got to do with it. And that's been an interesting topic. And we're going to talk about that with Michael tonight, the concept of luck. We're going to talk about the 1,000 true fan theory. We're going to talk a little bit about KISS because we had an interesting conversation off camera tonight about the end of the road tour for KISS and how that's going to wind up, and all things independent music tonight. But introduce Michael now. Oh, wait a minute. Do we have a co-host that's joined? Oh, he has no camera. Well, you know what? We'll bring the co-host on after. So without further ado, Michael Brandvold, a master digital marketer from San Francisco, California. Michael.
Hey, how's everybody doing? I should say, how are you doing, since you don't have a co-host?
Good to have you aboard, brother.
It's good to be back.
We're gonna bring Sean in here. He's waiting in the wings now. You never know what's going to happen. Those East Coasters, he might have been out at the pub and he had to stop to relieve himself before the show.
Maybe he hit a moose.
He could have hit a moose. You never know. So my host with the most, Sean McKenna, the podcast host of Barstools and Band Talk Rim Shots with Sean. Hey, Sean.
Howdy.
How you doing, brother?
Good, man. Had a power issue. My apologies.
Oh.
Show must go on.
Yeah, that's right.
Have you guys been having power outages out there?
Periodically, yeah. We started to get I won't say horrible weather, but we've had a couple of bad days, and they decided to privatize the power company back in the 90s, and there's never been so many outages as when it's been privatized. So
no more accountability, of course.
Exactly, but they're guaranteed a profit. So go figure.
Somebody unplugged the extension cord.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff tonight. I said I titled tonight's episode "New Revelations" because we're always hoping to learn new things and maybe discover new things together as we converse throughout the evening. Sean and I were doing this series called "What's Luck Got to Do with It?" A play on Tina Turner's song, and we decided that to some degree you make your own luck. Now, some people, Michael, would say that you were a really lucky guy that KISS discovered you.
Sure, I guess you could say it was luck, but at the same time, they discovered me because I went out and built a website because I wanted to build a website to learn how to build websites, and wanted to do it for no other reason than just to learn how to do it. And it just grew and exploded, and we've shared that story before.
Right.
And they discovered me. Now, would they have discovered me if I hadn't done that? Probably not.
So you never went to them and said, "Hey, look what I got, guys. My shiny new toy."
Well, I built the shiny new toy and made that shiny new toy incredibly popular and talked about by fans online in the early days of the internet. They had to be aware of it.
So who was the first one that you know that that caught their eye? Was it Paul Stanley or Gene Simmons that caught?
It was probably their McGee Entertainment, because
Oh,
that's who
okay.
that's who I was working with unofficially. You know, I was calling them to get Kiss news and tour dates and stuff like that. So I'm sure at some point somebody at McGee was like, "Hey, Gene, hey, Paul, you should take a look at this website. This is called a website. It's something, it's like a fanzine, but it's on the internet." You know,
Right.
again, remember this is back in 1995, so people had no idea what any of this was unless you were deeply involved in it. But I'm sure that's how it it happened. You know, again, was it pure dumb luck? I wouldn't say that. I put a lot of hard work into doing something that I wanted to do for myself, and they became aware of it. I mean, you know, you could liken it to you start a band and you just start playing and rehearsing and practicing and releasing demo tapes and CDs and doing it all on your own just because you want to, because you have to do it. And one day somebody calls you, and it might just be from the town over going, "Hey, we heard about you. You've been selling a lot of material or whatever. We want to book a show for you." Or maybe it's a small indie label that says, "You've been making some noise and you guys sound good on YouTube. Let's talk." I mean, is that luck? I don't think
Right.
that's, I wouldn't call that pure luck. I would call that hard work. You worked your ass off and kept working your ass off, even if nobody was calling you and applauding you and supporting you. You were doing it because you wanted to do it.
So does that go to that whole notion of you make your own luck?
I would rather say you make your own success
I
rather than
like
you make your own luck. You know, I think you work hard, you will, and you keep doing it, and you do it for true and real reasons, not for ulterior motives. I think if you keep doing it, you will make your own success.
right.
Now saying all of that, the music industry is definitely all about right place, right time, right people.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so
You
now, you said you worked with McGee Enterprises, right?
McGee Entertainment, yeah.
Okay. Now Doc took what he started as a manager and made it into something much bigger too, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, he started, like, the first rock band I think he ever managed was Pat Travers,
Right.
way back in the day. And before that, I think he was maybe involved in managing some R&B acts and stuff. But, you know, he started with Pat Travers. And, you know, you can then basically follow his history, you know, a little unknown band out of New Jersey, Bon Jovi, little unknown band out of Hollywood, Motley Crue. And, you know, once you start becoming successful, you are less likely to work with little unknown bands and have Scorpions and Kiss and Guns N' Roses
Right.
and everybody else that he's worked with. He now has the opportunity to work with them if he wanted to. So again, I think it's more about you make your own success by working
So
your ass off. But in the music industry especially, that's balanced out by right place, right time, right people.
right. Right. Sean, you had something posted a while back on your feed, something about the word fail.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're talking what the acronym stands for?
Yeah.
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 Well, and I mean, that was something that I probably saw from a lot of the stuff that I post. I'm not smart enough to say they're mine. I usually borrow them from somebody else, right? But, the whole false evidence appearing real and all that stuff, fear. To Michael's point, luck to me would imply that you're sitting around doing nothing and somebody finds you doing nothing and you become
Just
famous.
drops into your lap.
Right.
But the thing is, you weren't doing nothing. You had a vision or an idea, and you ran with it, and somebody else noticed and went, "Wow, that's going to become a very powerful marketing tool."
Well, yeah. I mean, I think, again, anybody who's got an idea or a hobby or whatever it might be, some people can understand how to take it to the next level, to turn that hobby into a pseudo business, a real business. Some people, they have no interest in that, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, some people are in bands because they just want to play at a bar on the weekend. They have no desire to do anything more than get together and play at a bar on a weekend, and that's great
Right.
to them. And what this also gets to is the definition of success is different for every single person.
Right.
Too many people think success is defined by one thing and one thing only: money.
Yeah.
And it's not. I think we all know people who are musicians who are quite happy with their 9 to 5 gig, but they love the fact that they can get together with their buddies and play on the weekends, maybe play a few original tunes. But you know what? That's, to them, that's all they want to do. They have no desire to get a record deal. They have no desire to tour the world. They have no desire to get millions of fans. For them, success is, man, can we get paid $500 to play the bar instead of us going in there and paying $500 to drink beer all night? Now we're getting paid. Success.
Yeah.
Right.
And oh, that's freaking cool. So it all comes back to, everybody has a different definition of what success is for them. What do I want to be successful? And I can guarantee you that many people, it's not just money. That's not success. It's, they want happiness. They want to be able to do something that they couldn't do before. And none of these definitions of success are any better or worse than the others.
Right.
I'd agree with that, and I think, and Michael, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what happens is some people get off their own path to success because other people start putting in their ear what success is,
Oh
and they
yeah.
lose their own vision, and that's a big problem, right? And in this day and age where everything's so instantaneous, and you see, everybody's life is amazing on social media. It can get hard in the head, and people start losing their own vision of success.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's something I always, and maybe we've talked about this, I can't remember, but I always say this to a lot of my clients. We live in a world where perception is reality.
Yep.
Reality is not reality. Perception is reality. That picture somebody posts that looks like they are in a, private jet flying across the ocean, the perception is they're rich and famous.
Yep.
The reality is their buddy works at a private airport and let them come and sit in a private jet for 10 minutes and take a picture of themselves sitting in there. That's the reality. The reality is a green screen behind somebody can be turned into, a big, rich, decked out house. That's not real. It's perception. So too many people get caught up in believing that perception is true, which is sort of like believing the hype. Don't believe your own hype. You got to remember, you're hyping for other people to believe it. Don't start believing your own hype. But then I think it's also important. You got to be very careful about taking advice from everybody, because everybody's going to tell you the right way and the wrong way to do it. And, at the end of the day, how do I word this delicately? Or maybe I shouldn't even worry about being delicate. Especially if you're in a band, every fan has got advice on how to do it to succeed. Here's what you got to change. Here's what you got to put in your set list. Here's what you got to drop from your set list. Here's what your stage show's got to look like. Here's what your album cover's got to look like. Here's what the stage clothes got to look like. Every fan is going to tell you that. Have any of those fans ever done anything on their own?
Bingo.
About what they're talking about and been successful?
Bingo.
Have those fans ever been in a band, managed a band, worked in the music industry? If they haven't, just let it go in one ear and out the other ear. Frankly, it means nothing. Now, if you're sitting down and having a conversation with somebody like Doc McGee and he gives you some advice and direction, you still may not want to just blindly follow it, but at least it's worth considering because of his credentials, his experience, and his expertise.
Yeah, it's coming from somebody that knows what they're talking about, and they've got the lived experience to back it up.
Yeah, everybody has an opinion. Nothing wrong with that. But the truth is, some opinions are worth more than others. And Gene has said this many times. The opinion from my doctor about my medical condition is much more important than the opinion from my accountant about my medical condition.
There's a big element of truth to that, and also thinking that that when someone looks at someone's, I guess, dent in their training as well as their background, what they've experienced along the way, do they have that experience? I know even in the professional world, that's looked for big time. How does your professional experience, what you've done in the past, how does it relate to the way you do things now?
Yeah, I mean, you have to look at people's experience. What have you done? Now, I personally, failing, I don't even deal with. I don't worry about it. I don't think about it. It's always going to happen. Everybody's going to fail. Again, even the best baseball players in the world are only going to be lucky to hit 3 out of 10 pitches thrown at them. So, you're going to probably fail more than you succeed. But who cares? We all fail. It's failing is just part of the process of creating something and moving and growing to the next level. You try something, it doesn't work, learn a little bit from it, put it behind you. Because guess what? At the end of the day, people are going to remember your successes a lot more than they're going to remember your failures.
Right. So you're saying too that failure could be used as an opportunity to learn.
Should be used.
It has to be. Has to be. Too many people look at failure as end of the road. I'm done. I failed.
Right.
It's over. I can no longer do it again. This band failed. Okay, try your second band. That band failed. Try a third band. Failed. Try a fourth band. Failed. I think we could go through, a list of all of the major rock bands out there and discover how many bands they might have been in before they got success. the old saying that nobody realizes that overnight success took 10 years to happen.
Mm-hmm.
True.
And that's because you failed, you did it again. You changed, you did it again. You pivot, you did it again. You did it again. And finally, it starts coming together with a little bit of what we talked about, right place, right time, right people.
Right.
And then it can start happening. But, you know, the behind the music that shows an overnight sensation doesn't show that somebody may have spent 20 years poor and destitute to get to that overnight sensation.
Right.
Well-
What do you say? What do you say to the person that is working hard every day and trying to find new ways to do things different? And it's sort of that, I don't know whether it's a fear of failing, but certainly a sense that you could fail if you don't do this and you don't do this and you don't do this to make what you're doing better.
Well, I think that fear of failure is what stops a lot of people from even starting.
Right.
You know, they're just too afraid of what might happen, so they don't even start. They don't really try. And that's why when I've done anything I've started and done, I don't even the thought of failure isn't even in my thought process as I've started something, created something, done something. It only comes up when you tried to do something and it didn't work. And, you know, and again, maybe it didn't work because of your own actions, but God knows in this world, a lot of things can fail because of somebody else's lack of actions. Not you.
Right.
You didn't fail. Somebody else dropped the ball. Somebody else didn't pick up the ball. Somebody else didn't do their part of the deal that you were supposed to be part of.
Right.
So, you know, again, to be too focused on failure, failing, fear of failure, it's just going to, you know, it just paralyzes some people to the point where they just don't want to even try.
Right. Can it motivate? Can it also be a motivator to people to make them want to try harder or think about ways that they can move away from that way of thinking by putting in, I don't know, new things that maybe makes them feel that they've accomplished that level of success? Because as you mentioned before, success is different things to different people, and sometimes success are various plateaus that people reach.
Well, yeah, you know, again, I think too many people sit here and go, and if we're talking about bands, success is when I can play to 10,000 people. Success is signing a major record deal. Success is touring the world. Well, that's is a level of success, but that could be far out in front of you. And we all know in this business, very few people ever are going to reach those levels. Of
Right.
the number of bands and musicians that are out there creating music, a small number ever are going to reach those. So I've always felt it's important to look at small measures of success. Did you accomplish something over the last 30 days to improve, grow, get better? Hey, I sold 10 downloads in the last month. The month before that, I sold none. Okay, that's good. That's great. That's a baby step, and a next step, and a next step. Too many people want to go from 0 to 100 overnight, and that's just not realistic.
That's like Richard Dreyfuss's book in What About Bob? Baby Steps. Remember that?
Baby steps. I mean, it is. You have to look at the accomplishments you make in the short term to feel good. I tell so many artists, it's like, as you're starting out, don't even bother to look at the statistics online for video views and Spotify plays and Facebook likes, because those numbers are going to depress the hell out of you.
Yep.
Because 6 months later, you're like, fuck, I've only got 50 subscribers on my YouTube channel.
Yep.
I'm giving up. I mean, don't buy into that sort of stuff. Just, just keep swimming, just keep swimming, I mean,
I
that
thought you were going to say that. Yeah.
that's what it comes down to. Just keep doing it. Just keep doing it. And again, if you believe in what you're doing and just keep trying, I believe the right place, the right time, the right alignment of whatever will happen. Is it going to catapult you to the stars? Maybe not, but it might take you up to the next step.
Right.
But
we got a question. I was just going to read Sasha's question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Or you can read it. Can you read it there, Sean?
Also asked, when did they have their experience? Some seemingly qualified people could be giving you outdated advice in this new digital age of music. I want to hear Michael's answer on that, but I sometimes think people, this whole digital thing, they want to throw the quote unquote dinosaurs away, and you don't know anything if you're not dealing with the new digital age. And I think that at the end of the day, there's new things, but some of the old principles still apply. You gotta do it. You gotta have goals. You gotta actually, get off your duff and make some things happen. And what I was gonna say was, and this comes from personal experience, a lot of people don't know what their goals are. I didn't. You asked me
Well,
what I wanted to do.
that's a great point. Too many people don't even know what they want. They don't know what their goals are, what they're trying to achieve. They haven't sat down and said, well, what in the next 3 months would be successful for me?
Well, and I had the opportunity to converse a little bit with Matt Stark because he does some coaching, and that's what he asked me. What's your goal? And I'm like, I don't know. He goes, well, if you don't know, I don't know, so I can't help you. And I had to go away and actually think about it. And it's the old principle of, if you can't see what your goal is, what is your goal? And a lot of people don't know, and it's like a smack in the face when somebody says that to you.
It is, that is so important. But to go along with that, again, people need to understand a goal doesn't have to be, I want to earn $10,000 a month.
Yep.
I mean, yes, that is a goal, but that doesn't have to be that goal. The goal could be as simple as, I just want to have freaking fun doing this, and I don't want to lose money doing this. That's it. That's a great goal. That can be success, but you don't want to get caught up in these grandiose goals that a lot of people might put out there in front of you. Oh, your goal needs to be signing a record deal within 12 months and selling 5,000 CDs. That doesn't have to be a goal. The goal could be as simple as, I want to record a CD. That's my goal. I just want to record it.
My goal was very simple. I want to meet Michael Brandvold. So mission accomplished. We'll see you guys later.
You know what, Michael? I mean, some of what you just said are some of the reasons I started the record label, right? I started the record label really reluctantly because people came to me saying, you know what, we don't quite understand this digital thing. You seem to have a handle on it. Would you be willing to, work with our music and help us get our music out to a digital audience? And when people start believing in you, you start believing more in yourself about maybe this is a new purpose in your life. And maybe your job is to help independent artists to get their music out in front of as many people as possible. I mean, that's the goal. And the way you do that is to push it out in front of many people as you can and let them decide. Right? The listener always gets to decide.
Well, the listeners, I mean, music is all, at the end of the day, 100% personal taste. the media outlet, the radio station, the venue buyer, the fan, they're either going to like it or they're not going to like it. And there's nothing you can do to change that. It is what it is. The same song is going to get a different reaction from two different people.
It's interesting.
One person can blatantly just hate it. It can be like nails on a chalkboard, and the other person can go, "That is the most beautiful piece of composition I've ever heard."
Right. My own worst, and I became my own worst enemy when I thought, okay, this is a really good thing to do, and I thought, well, I need to figure out a better way to do it, and it's only in the last, I think probably the last couple of years. I started this in 2016, and I knew nothing about. I didn't even know if I was really a record label or whether I was a distributor. I really didn't have a good sense of what I was going to be getting myself into. And it sort of has morphed into this record label thing. And now with Sean working with me and Brent Durner working with us, it's morphing into something much different. It started as a record label. Now it's kind of like we're looking at this download and streaming platform that provides label services. Now we're looking at something that's more of a hub for independent music.
That, you know what, you're almost getting into Sash's, I guess we'll call it, rebuttal. He said, I was referring to the fact that signing a record deals these days isn't what it used to be. You may not need them today by the time they are willing to sign you, as it is almost impossible to sign a deal with a label who will invest on development. Well, the thing is, a lot of people, and Michael, correct me on this because you've had a lot of experience, but I know from dealing with record labels up here in Canada, it's not an investment because you pay it back. It's a loan. Let's call it what it is.
It's 100% a loan. Nobody's giving you free money in the record business, in the music business.
So you're really investing in yourself with somebody else's money short term.
It could be short term, long term. I mean,
or long term.
It depends on that contract and if you've ever gotten recouped. I mean, we know if you aren't recouped with your record label, you could owe them money for eternity and be prevented from ever signing another contract with another label until you pay off that previous one.
It really, I don't want to say it's like making a deal with the devil. However, there's countless stories of that where people sign bad deals and, they're for years and years and years and decades, they're saddled with those deals. And I think it was White Lion that said they broke up to get out of a bad record deal or get out of a, being able to have to pay back.
I think there's stories of bands that, purposely filed bankruptcy so they could get out of contracts because they were prevented from making new music.
Here's an interesting thing that we learn as we go forward, with it, developing a new model, let's say for a record label, that, record labels in effect were basically banks that called in their loans, and would hold collateral, sometimes publishing, sometimes the master recording, sometimes both, and would never relinquish that to the artist, even though the artist had actually paid for it time and time and time again through the course of their original agreement, and then try and get the record label to release what really belonged to the artist because they had paid for it in blood, sweat, and tears and money. And then still can't get control of their catalog. So you do like Motley Crue does. You piss off your record labels so bad, make them look so bad that they say, okay, here's your catalog. Go away.
Well, yeah, but keep in mind, Motley Crue still paid, I think at that time, like $30 million to buy that back catalog back. So, that's and that was what, in the late 80s?
Yeah, it was early 90s back then. It was a lot of money.
That was a lot of money back then. A lot. It was a big deal. I remember when Motley Crue bought their catalog from Elektra. I mean, what that question gets to and what we're talking about, you got to know what the hell you're signing. at the end of the day. That's what it is. There's good things about labels, there's bad things about labels. But you need to completely understand what that contract is that you're signing. And every little clause and every little percentage and every little penny that's being mentioned in there, you've got to know what that's about. Because, you know, to this day, when I see an artist on Facebook crying that they make no money, they've been paid no money from Spotify for all of their millions of streams, I immediately go, there's an artist who's never read their contract. Because if
Yeah,
they
because
read their contract, they would know that Spotify never pays the artists. Never. I don't care
they
who
pay
it
the
is.
label.
No,
Pay the
they
label.
pay the rights holder of the music, which most of the time is the record label.
Yep.
And then the record label is responsible for paying the artist based on the contract that that artist signed.
Exactly.
And 9 times out of 10, if it's a label, that artist is probably unrecouped because a label wants to keep you unrecouped so they don't have to pay you royalties.
Yep.
And therefore, you are just getting angry at streaming service for something that in reality is your record label doing it to you. But you don't know this because you didn't read your contract.
Yep.
You don't know what your contract said. You are mad that your contract, that the record label owns your recording masters. Fair, that you can be mad about that. But go read your contract. You probably signed a contract that says the label's paying for the recording. The label is going to own those masters forever.
Right.
You signed it.
What do you think about an independent label that doesn't own the masters, doesn't own the publishing, and doesn't want to own any of that?
They're out there, and I think that's great. I mean, you know, in
That's
this
us.
day and age, most bands should be looking at licensing deals. You know, the band goes out. Here's the thing. That means a band needs to put their own money into it. You've got to figure out how to find your own money to pay for your own recording, for your own maybe pressing of CDs and vinyl and all artwork and photographers. You got to pay for all of that. You create a finished CD, except for a little label at the bottom that's got room for a UPC code and maybe a strip for who you've licensed it to. And then you go knocking on doors to record labels and going, I got this finished product. Are you interested in this? And a label goes, yes, we'd like to license that from you. And that licensing will have a term to it. And when that term is up, most likely, and again, read your contract, when that term is up, the music reverts back to you. As long as that license agreement is in effect, the record label, quote, owns the recording. But once that license expires, and that's the way it should be, because while that contract is in effect, the label's job is to earn money and protect that recording. When it's done, it should go back to you, the artist, and you can turn around and do whatever else you want with it now.
That's the way it works with us, Michael. The artist technically just gives us licensing to distribute the music, and they own it 100%. And we don't have a set term. They can leave whenever they want.
Yeah, I mean, again, contracts are everything. And 99% of the time, disputes, anger, feuds stem from somebody didn't read their contract that they signed. And honestly, if you didn't read your contract and then you signed it and it's a bad contract, I'm not blaming the record label. I blame the person who signed it and was foolish enough to sign something without reading the contract without asking a lawyer to review the contract.
Right.
If you sign it sight unseen, hey, good for that label. They got everything they wanted out of it. I'm not going to fault them because, again, this is a business now. Now, when you're dealing in contracts and licensing and all, this is pure business. And the label's looking out for their business. The artist needs to be looking out for their business. It's called negotiating. You go back, cross out, you strike things in the contract, you add things into a contract, but you got to know what the hell you're signing. Otherwise, you have no excuse to get pissed years from now when you're getting screwed.
Right. Yeah, we decided to not go the contract route with artists for a lot of reasons. We went with the terms of service for a very different reason, because that terms of service was based on the fact that we did not want to negotiate deals with anybody. Everybody gets the same deal across the board. It doesn't matter who you are, you get the same deal as everybody else. That means that everybody's on a level playing field.
Well, but and that's good, but keep in mind, even a terms of service is just a simplified contract.
Sure it is.
You know,
sure
terms of service is still something somebody agrees to, either by, clicking a box on a website when you join or signing your name. I agree to these terms. It's just a much easier contract for somebody to digest. I would almost call it it's a term sheet. It's a term sheet that you're laying out. Here's the terms, 6 terms. That's it. The meat and potatoes are right here. You agree, you don't agree.
That's it. That's basically what we end up doing. And of course, one of those things is you can leave anytime you want. And we actually set it up so that it's easier for the artist to leave than to stay. So I always tell people, I'm a gentleman. I just knock on the door. You have to open up the door and let me in. I'm not the big bad wolf. I'm not going to huff and puff and blow your house in. I'm just going to stand at the door and knock, and you decide whether or not you like what we're doing. If you like what we're doing enough, you jump on board and you hang on for the ride.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I think what happens in it's not only newer acts, because some of the older acts that are looking for stuff, but they hear the days of the way record companies used to be, and they don't understand that really you were dealing with a bank. They hear about these huge advances, but they don't understand you're being advanced your own money that you may or may not make back. And that's the one piece that I learned it very early in my career, very early, and a lot of people just don't understand that.
Right.
Yeah. Well, no, anything a record label does for you, whether it's advancing you money, renting a limo to get you to a show, buying you dinner, hiring a publicist, you're paying for all of that. Every penny that a record label spends on you, related to you, gets charged back to you, and you will have to pay it back. It's always, it's the funny joke of, bands out of the Sunset Strip. Oh yeah, the record label took us out to a huge dinner to celebrate signing our record deal, and they charge it on their credit card. It was $1,000 for steaks and everything else. And then we got our first statement, and there was a line item for $1,000 at the restaurant. Yeah. Yeah.
Surprise.
The somewhat nice thing about that record label is it's not cash coming directly out of your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
It's coming out of the label's pocket, and then it's coming out of the earnings that you made for the label. But you're not actually sitting here at the end of a quarter having to write a check to the record label for, all right, here's all the expenses. How much do we owe you? Here's the money. No.
Right.
That recoupment total, as an artist, you hope every quarter gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, because once that recoupment is zero, now you're earning money. Now the label is paying you money. But, in many cases, that recoupment amount keeps going up. Tour support,
Absolutely.
especially back in the days when labels did it. You wanted to go out on tour, you were Faster Pussycat and you wanted to go out open on the Kiss tour for Hot in the Shade, great. The record label is more than happy to pay you money so you could get a tour bus and a road crew and tour managers and all that other stuff and new gear. As long as you're still selling records, they'll keep doing it. But all, that $10,000 a week that the label is spending to keep you on the road, you're paying that back out of your record sales. And the second your record sales stop, they stop supporting you.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're sitting here going, well,
now
wait a
bad
second.
Investment risk.
You've stopped marketing and promoting my album because you feel like the sales are over. But I still owe you money, and you collect off of album sales to reduce my recoupment. How am I going to get ahead in this game?
See,
You're not. You got to go and record another album, make another advance, hope that album sells 5 times as many as the first one, so that second album pays off the recoupment from the first album, and then pays off the recoupment from the you guys get what's going on here?
Absolutely.
It never stops building.
Now you're talking standard mainstream label contracts, those that include those kinds of recoupables. But not every record label has recoupables, and not every record label asks the artist that they're going to recoup anything other than whatever the agreement is for the share of royalties.
Well, here's what I would say. If you're signing with a label that isn't going to have recoupment, I'd question the validity of that label to begin with.
It might be a money laundering situation, right?
Well, yeah. Well, how's that label going to stay in business?
Right.
Seriously. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the concept of recoupment. It isn't. It's a loan that they're paying back. That's it. And frankly, as compared to a traditional bank loan, which the bank isn't taking your monthly payment out of your salary, you got to come home, write a check, send it to the bank.
Yeah, but you're still talking about standard mainstream contracts. You're not talking about independent music contracts.
But the whole
different.
But the whole concept can still be the same. If somebody is going to spend money on you, they're going to want to get paid back that money.
Yeah, and I believe in that. Okay. But some record labels, like my record label, for example, we don't have the money to invest into loan artists.
I understand that's very true. You've got to understand what you need, why you need it, and what can be offered to you. Because you might be able to find a deal where there is no deep contract. But you also need to understand up front, the label isn't going to be spending money on you. If you want to spend money on marketing and promotion, you're doing it on your own. The label isn't going to spend that money. You're going to do that. And to that, and there's that's great. But at the same time, there's artists who are like, wait, I didn't realize you weren't going to spend that money. I have no money. Who's going to market my album now?
Right.
Well, if you would have read that, let's go back. If you would have read the terms, it would have been very clearly outlined there. The label is not responsible for paying for marketing and promotion. That is the artist's responsibility.
Right. So currently, our model is we do all the marketing, we do all the promotion for the artist in return for a share of royalties. So it's a little bit of a different deal, the way that we put things together with our artists. We don't do anything up front. We don't say, hey, you give us this much money up front, we're going to do this for you. That comes at a cost, my cost, time, effort, all those other things that comes as a result of saying, I'm willing to share a share of your royalties with you in return for doing these services.
However, we've talked about an expectation that's put on the artists because, and I get this all the time. People want everything done for them, but they don't want to pay for it, right?
Right.
And so they expect, a company or promoter to do pay it forward, but they're not willing to put any skin in the game or take the loss. They want the promotion, make the money. So there has to be. We're going to put an expectation on the artist that, hey, this is what we expect of. And to your point, Michael, that's going to be busted out in the contract.
Yeah, it needs to be clearly defined so the artist knows how much and for how long you're going to spend money on them, and what happens when that time is up and they still want more spent. Again, artists need to have a very clear understanding of all of the terms and all of the expectations and all of the responsibilities each party has for what term.
Right.
Is it for, what happens if, as a label, you sit here and go, Jesus, we've spent money for 6 months to try and make this happen, and it's just not happening. We got to pull the plug on spending money. And the artist goes, but I don't think it's over. I want to keep marketing this.
Right.
What happens?
Yeah, the expectation has to be laid out right at the beginning, because a
Yep.
conversation that I have an awful lot with, and it's especially with people that play shows, is they've got it in their head that they're the talent, they show up, they play, it's not their responsibility to market the show. I disagree, because if you want to get a guarantee, which is rare these days, and you expect people to be there and you're not going to do anything, then if the venue is empty, you're probably not going to be asked back, and people don't get that, right? And so that expectation has to be set out right from the get-go of what everybody's deliverable is going to be.
And the consequences of if those deliverables don't happen.
Yeah.
The artist needs to know right up front, we're booking you, you're responsible for marketing the show as well as us. If we feel you did not live up to the expectation, and you can clearly define, even in this day and age, what that is. We want to see an email blast once a month. We want to see a post every week on all social media networks. We want 12 videos created over the next 6 months. You can and should detail everything in there, because if it's left vague, you're going to get vague results.
Yep.
If you outline A, B, C, D, and E, you will get exactly A, B, C, D, and E. Now they may not work, but those expectations and what will happen if they don't. If we feel you are not living up to the marketing end of this deal, we have the right to cancel the show. We have the right to release you from this contract, a recording contract.
And that does
you didn't
happen.
live up, and you didn't live up to what you agreed upon. Again, it all comes down to understanding what those requirements are in the contract on both sides, and what can lead to the termination of that contract. Because it's often quite clear, if you do A, B, or C, we can terminate this or if you don't do A, B, and C, we can terminate this contract.
Right.
And that's the way it should be. I mean, contracts are designed to protect both parties and keep it so, as you are both working together to move forward, nobody's sitting back going, oh, gee, is he doing it or are we doing it? Who's responsible? I'm not going to do it. I think he'll take care of it. And then a year later, you come back and go, you guys didn't do anything. Well, we thought you were doing it.
Yeah, I think that's the importance of ongoing communication and transparency on both parties' part. I mean, what I try to do is communicate regularly with the artist on the label, and we have conversations about everything from what I'm doing to what they're doing, what we can do differently together, and how we can better work together to market their music, right? We look at everything we do as a partnership with the artist. We don't look at it as I'm working for you, you're working for me. It doesn't work that way. We play it like a team sport. If you don't play it like a team sport, nobody wins.
I mean, that's a great attitude to have, but my experience has been most artists aren't playing it as a team sport.
Yeah. Yes.
They want somebody else to do it. I'm the artist. You're the label. Do it. Just do it and make me successful.
I agree with that. I mean, and that does come with certain expectations around that whole concept we talked about earlier of success, because not every artist in the independent world thinks that way. It's like you said, Michael, for some people, it's just, you know what? My goal was to get the song recorded and get it put out there. That was my goal. I did not have a goal in mind that I'm going to become rich and famous and then I'm going to start touring and opening for Metallica or shit like that. I really just wanted to record my song, get it out there, and just see if people like it as much as I do. Right? If that was the expectation, there's nothing beyond that. Right?
But here's the thing. That's 100% right. But those artists that don't have those further expectations aren't going to be interested in signing deals. That's not what they're interested in. Right. It's the artist that says, I want a deal, that has the expectation of greater success. And with that has to be clearly defined roles, responsibilities, terms. Everything's got to be clearly outlined in there, because again, it's just too common that artists are like, okay, my job is to write music, record music, and play music live. Your job is to market, promote it, and do all of everything else to make me successful. And that's all they're going to do. And you can have all the conversations you want with them till you're blue in the face of, I need you to do a video. I need you to create a post. I need you to write out your lyrics. And listen, I've had clients where, every week for 6 weeks, I need you to do this. 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 6 weeks later, they're going, how come nothing's happening? Because you haven't done anything that we've discussed and communicated about for the last 6 weeks. It comes down to, and what that is to me is, as a label, as a team member supporting an artist, you cannot want it more than the artist.
Right.
If you want more to happen for them than they are willing to make happen for themselves, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. You can't.
And you said this before as well, right? You said it's as much the band's responsibility or the artist's responsibility to sell their music it is the label.
Oh yeah. I mean, I can't tell you as a fan how many times I've heard a band somewhere and I went to their Facebook page or their website, I hit the contact form or left them a post or a message saying, I love your album. Where can I get it? Crickets. Never get a response back. Never get a response. I sometimes I'll play with them to the point where I'm like, I'll reply back again going, hey, I've got a $10 bill that I want to give you. How do I give you $10? Nothing. So again, and this is what separates the bands that make it or continue to move forward from the bands that don't. The bands that keep moving forward want it more than anybody else working for them. And they're not going to stop just because somebody else doesn't want it as much as them. It's when the label, the marketing team, the venue, the promoter want this band to succeed so bad, but the band ain't going to do shit. You know, you can lead that horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
So
You know, I've
everybody's
said,
gonna
I've actually said, you can lead an artist to fans, but you can't make them talk to the fans.
Yep.
right.
Yep.
You said it tonight, Michael. Sean said it, and I think in a roundabout way, I've said it too. Everybody's got to have some skin in the game.
Well, I mean, that's the a friend of mine called it the pucker factor, right? To Michael's point, do you care? You know, and you know, Michael, you're saying this, and it's ringing in my ears because I made a decision about 3 weeks ago to basically not think any less of anybody, but anybody that I have to drag along, I'm cutting from, you know, my
Yeah,
right, and that's it.
I mean that, and again, that shouldn't be seen as a personal attack on whoever you're cutting. That's just business, people. That is literally just business. You could be Procter and Gamble, and if you've got a soap line that nobody's buying, but it's been in the history of the company for 75 years, you're going to stop selling it because you're losing money on it. It's just business.
Mm-hmm.
You can't waste your time working for artists that don't want it more than you want it for them. I
Great
want to see
conversation,
everybody succeed, but if they don't want to succeed worse than I want it for them, it'll never happen.
Amen, brother.
Great conversation, guys. We're at the top of the hour now. Our guest on the show has been Michael Brandvold, digital marketing specialist. Michael Brandvold has his own marketing company and has a huge number of clients. Do you still take on work, Michael?
Oh yeah, always talking to clients. And again, it comes down to, you know, talking, feeling how serious they are, you know, or are they that weekend band that thinks they'll throw some money at this and it'll buy them success.
Right.
But yeah, it can be an unknown band or it can be a known band. It doesn't matter to me. I mean, the music's got to be great, the attitude's got to be great, and you got to want to succeed.
All right. Michael Brandvold, and my co-host, as always, Sean McKenna. And remember, folks, I'm Kenny, and you are not. This has been The Indie Show. Have a great evening, everybody.